Yo. We're going to keep this episode pretty short because I am on a tight schedule. I'm going to call it probably 15 minutes. So, when you listen to it at triple speed, it's only going to be 5 minutes of your time. Welcome to another episode. I have had an interesting week. I've gone on a few dates. I went on this date, and I wanted to tell you about it. It was so awkward on so many levels. I met up with this person on Tinder, of course, a sponsor of the show, and one of my the bane of my existence, and man, I just like it was just like a bad sitch. Like, so we met up, and the person, seemed nice at first and stuff, but like, it was just like, man, like, how can I describe it? Okay, so like we met up, and then we started talking about stuff, and it's just one of those bad situations where you're talking with someone. Basically, I was talking with her, and then I bring up stuff, and then she's like very judgmental about that. Like I brought up that I worked at Real Time with Bill Maher, and she's like, "Oh my God, he's such an Islamophobe." And I was like, "Yeah, like I understand that you feel that way about it," but she just, and I was like, "I think we just disagree about this. Like we just agree to disagree about this," and and then but she just kept bringing it up throughout like the conversation, even though I was like, I think we've already like talked about this. And then we had a conflict over something else, and it was one of those situations where it's like, a situation is bad with someone when like the more you try to explain yourself, the more they're just like it's like you're giving them ammunition, and they're just trying to get a bunch of jabs in. Um, so you know, um, like I would say, if you're on a date, if you like, you can call someone like privileged, you can call someone like a bunch of stuff, but like don't be surprised when the person's like, I think we should just stop. So eventually, this is the first time I've ever done that, like on a date. I literally about, I don't know, maybe maybe like a couple minutes in, like probably like 30 minutes into the day, I said, well, it's clear that we disagree about some things. We see things differently. And she's like, yeah, you must see things differently if you're going to work on that show for a year. And I was like, okay, so we see things differently. I think, okay, we can agree that we see things differently. And so, like, and it's causing conflict between us. So if we're just having conflict, why don't we just, and it's clearly not getting better. So why don't we just call it a day? And it was nice to meet you. And she was offended. She was like pissed by me saying that. But I wanted to be like, I mean, and I don't know. I was just, I was raised to be too goddamn polite. I don't know, or like too just indulgent. Because then we walked more. I was like, okay, fine, we'll talk a little bit more. And she just kept trying to like tell me how like to live my life, and I was like, I really, like, I'm gonna listen to myself. And she's like, yeah, I understand, everyone's got to listen to themselves, but X, Y, and Z. And then eventually when we were walking back to the park, I literally just, I didn't say, maybe it was a little bit of like a non a conflict avoidant thing, but I was just like, okay, well, your car's that way, my car's this way, take care. And just sort of like let it go, like, um and it was just, and it seemed like he was shocked, and I was like, I don't get it. Like, if you don't like my choices or my decisions, like, and you're really critical. It was clear, like, from her perspective, it was like she was just like, well, I just need to get you to see my point of view, like, because when you see the light, you'll understand, like, I guess, like, the error of your ways. Obviously, I didn't feel that way, and I made that known. But it was just funny. It was like she was like astonished that I didn't want to continue hanging out. I was like, well, I mean, like, why? Why would I want to? Why would I want to continue hanging out? It was just weird. It was so weird. It was so bad. And it was funny because then I went back to my car, but then I was like, hey, I'm at Echo Park. Like, I want to walk around the lake. So I got out of my car and I started doing a lap. And it was funny. I ran into an acquaintance and she asked me what I was doing there. And I was like, well, I'm walking off a bad date. I'm just trying to walk this thing off right now. Um, and that was just it was just it was like it was weird. I was trying to explain to this acquaintance. I was like, yeah, it was weird because it was like she was lecturing me, and like I almost just wanted to tell her like, yo, I don't think I paid for this semester. Like I didn't pay tuition, so I don't know if I'm even entitled to hear any of this any of these nuggets of wisdom. Man, it was so bad. And then I parted away with the acquaintance and I made my way around the park. And I actually saw the person that I was just on the date with. But I was like, no, that's a stranger. Okay, you stay away from strangers. It was funny. Like I saw her, and I think she saw me, but I was just like, I just like looked straight. I was like, she's a stranger. You don't even need to acknowledge her. You don't even need to engage. Um, God, it was so bad. It was so. Oh man, it was so terrible. Such a just a. It was the first time I ever had to do that. Actually, I mean, I think in some ways it was probably actually a side of growth as a person to just instead of like dragging things out, being just like, yo, this isn't gonna work. Like, and I'm not saying the goal of dating or has to be to get married, but it probably has to be to at least have fun. If you can't even meet those basic criteria of just having fun, man, I need to get the fuck out of here. Like, now. Like, immediately. Ugh. It's just so funny. And I saw her holding her coffee and stuff. I was like, shit. Oh, maybe, maybe it was a little cold to like walk with her to get the coffee and then like just duck. I didn't get coffee or anything. But like it was funny as we were walking back. I maybe I was just like I never really listened. I think to this part of myself in the past. But like I was when we were walking back from the coffee shop, I was thinking to myself. I was like, I'm a very talkative person. I think two people listen to this podcast, and I literally I love talking. I love discussing stuff. And the fact that like I didn't want to discuss anything with her was like um the fact that I didn't want to discuss anything with her was to me like I didn't even want to say anything. And then I had to ask myself in my head like, "Yo, Jacques, why is it you don't want to say anything?" And I was like, "Well, I don't want to say anything because she'll it'll start a conversation." And in some point in that conversation, she'll bring up some shit that she's already giving me shit for about 10 minutes ago. And then I said, okay, well, I had to walk myself through it because I literally try to be like super polite. I don't know. Try to be like indulgent. Don't try to like let people down. Ugh, is a terrible traits of mine. But I mean, I'm serious. It's a terrible traits. Like I've been around people. I realize like I've been around people that I don't like for that reason. But like, I mean, it's hilarious because like I literally had to walk myself through. I was like, well, Jack, and I was talking to myself in my head. I'm like, well, Jack, if you don't even feel comfortable talking with this person anymore, why are you around this person? It's like because it's the nice and polite and the thing to do. And I was like, okay, I hear you. I hear you. Right? But we have to get out of here because where is this headed? And I was like, nowhere. And I was like, oh, I get it now. Thanks for explaining that to me, brain. And I just left. Like, like it was. I mean, admittedly, I think I again was a little bit. I was a little afraid, a little cowardly. Like we started crossing the crosswalk, and I just like, like I was. It was like we were crossing the crosswalk, and then I like went back to the curb, and I was like, oh well, hey, have a nice day. You know. And she was like, like she was confused. Um, and I said, hey, take care. And but you're on a crosswalk, so you just have to cross. So I was just like, oh, I think that might be the move. Whenever you're trying to like just part ways with someone, just get to a crosswalk, get to an intersection, and just like bust a left. But like make up until that point, just make it look like you're going straight. But God, oh man, so much progress in my life. In the past, I probably would have, I don't know, I would have started dating someone. I definitely have dated people like that, where like the superior and sort of like a little dominating in this just weird way. But I'm glad I didn't do that this time. Oh my God, it was just, she was cute, but man, it's just, when people are giving you grief that way, eventually at a certain point, you have to just get to your senses and go, oh, this doesn't feel good at all. Like, this feels good in the same way that, like, I don't know, when I was a kid, I oftentimes took 9-volt batteries and I managed to put my tongue on both sides of the battery and I get a little shock. Like, it was like that. But it wasn't good. And I was just like, man, why am I here, bro? Why am I here? What am I doing here? And I had to walk myself through, just like getting out of the situation. It's just good, you know what I mean? It's like me, myself, and I. I'm my own best friend. Doesn't mean I don't have other friends, but I am my best friend, okay? Holler at your boy. Holla. I just did that to myself. Yeah, man. Oh, so funny. Whew. And I had to walk it off. I had to walk off a date, which was great. I mean, it was great cardio. I probably did. I think I did like 5 laps around around the lake. I mean, honestly, it's a beautiful lake, so it's not a problem. I talked with some friends. I listened to an audiobook. Part of the time, I just you know listened to silence and just enjoyed the ambiance. Yeah, man. Oh, just walking it off. I think it's honestly is it was a weird thing that I had to walk it off. Like it's weird when you feel like you're just like, well, I remember because I got in my car and I started reading a book that I was reading on my phone, and I just couldn't concentrate on it. And I was like, okay, well, you're not gonna be able to concentrate for a little bit. Like that entire interaction sort of threw you off a little bit. So like, why don't you why don't you just like walk? Because I love walking. And so I was just like, okay, just walk until this is out of your system. And I swear to God, I walked for like probably 40 minutes, if not longer. I walked until the sun went down, and then I walked somewhere. Oh, God, that was just so bad. And it's just crazy. I don't know, man. People are fucking nuts these days. I feel like in this like post in this Trump era, people are like nuts. It's like people will yell in your face, and then they'll be confused about why you want to get away from them. Like it's so weird. I mean, I really feel like people didn't act like this in the past. People did not act like that. They just did it. They would just be like, okay, well, we're not on the same page. It's weird. Like politics and like views like of the world is like the one area where I feel like people get closer to people they disagree with. You know what I mean? Like if I ever met someone and they were like, "Hey, I like," you know what I mean? Like I like hunting turtles. Like I would get away from them. If someone said like, "Hey, I love eating doo doo," like I wouldn't be like, "Hey, have you ever thought about eating chicken?" Or like, "Have you ever thought about eating tofu?" No, I would just get away from them. But like with politics, when people have different politics than yours, it's like people move closer. Like they just like, don't you know? I'm a missionary. I've been sent on a mission from Joe Biden to tell you what the fuck is up. Like it's I can't stand it. Like it's just weird. Like it's fine, you know what I mean? Like in some ways, I think that's the part that feels confusing to me. Like like there's this sense that I'm like it's confusing to me because I'm like telling myself I'm supposed to listen to this because this is public discourse, right? But it's like no, this isn't public discourse. This is like really personal attacks. and someone insulting you. But like, there's a part of it that's like, oh, I'm supposed to like listen, right? And on some level in her head, I have to assume she's got to be like, well, I gotta tell him what's up, you know. And it's not like you wouldn't do that for anything else. You know what I mean? Feel like people trying to just persuade other people. It's like, yo, you like what you like. And that was the thing. Like I had no problem with the way she felt about Bill Maher or about the show or my decisions. It was like, yo, you can feel those kinds of ways, but like, you know, your boy's gonna hit his steps. Okay, you know, he's gonna hit his 15,000 steps today. 15,000 we're hitting today. 15. Count them. I did. So yeah, it's just but the fact that she was like astonished by the fact that I didn't. I was just like, well, I if we're not on the same page, I mean, shouldn't we like just stop? And you could see like it just didn't occur to her to do that. It's like, yeah, man. I get why they call politics or this kind of stuff like the third rail. Because it's also like it's like when you touch something electrified, your hand like grips it. You know what I mean? So like you just get further electrified. It's like touching a like a fence. It's like your hands just close further around it, and you keep getting burned. Ah, ah, ah. Oh, oh, bro. So, anyways, dating in LA is crazy, huh? I'll talk to you later. Merry Christmas. Uh, yeah, take care, and I'll see you next week. Peace.